I'm here
Hang
with
on one
Jeff.
second.
Go ahead.
Hang on. We're live. All right. This is Jeff here with Ebayaddicts, and today my guest is John from the Simplest Biz. You want to introduce yourself, John?
Yes, John Wilker from Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm the owner of the Simplest Biz. It's a business model that we're going to be talking about tonight, and we also have some training available as well. So I'm glad to be here and answer any questions about this business model. We'll dive deep and give you guys some clarity of I've been doing for the last 23 years.
Yeah, John is a hustler. I don't know if you guys have seen him or heard of him before. He was on Felix's channel, The Giant Lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him on the Side Hustle Network. They have a podcast, and I saw him. He was featured on JT Hustle's channel as well. I think your video had 250,000 views. It was crazy. Yeah. So it's like, what is it like, John? You're like YouTube famous now. What's that like, bro?
It's a little strange, I'm just some guy from Alabama that figured something out, but at the same time, I talk to a lot of people these days because of what happens on YouTube, and it just tickles me to death in a way. It puts me in a position to be able to help a lot of people. So I'm very grateful for that part of it. At the same time, oh my God, I'm talking to you. I just saw you on a video, but guys, it's YouTube, right? It's a great vehicle to be able to talk to folks. But at the same time, I'm just a regular guy and figured something out that's really transformed my life for the last 23 years. And now I'm in a position to, I still do the business, but I'm still in a position to help other people do the same thing that I feel like I've been getting away with for all these years.
Well, you've been getting away with it. It's basically, John, if you guys don't know, he's basically a quote unquote reseller, but instead of selling merchandise on eBay, he's reselling pallets. So before we get into your business, I was telling people that I was like, hey, from what I understand, this guy, John, he could make $1,000 a day by lunchtime. So before we get into your business, I want to know if you could tell us a little bit about who you are and your backstory of how you got started in this business. Because from what I understand, you were working at some construction site, and this guy was telling you that you need to go out and look for pallets, and you were like, huh? So go ahead, tell us the story.
Yeah, you're close. I was doing remodeling way back in, this was like 1998. And, we had a job coming up as a bathroom remodel. And we went to the door, and there's this note on the door, and it says, "We a family emergency. We won't be back until next week." Well, I had a partner in the remodeling business. His name was Dane. So I remember we got back in the truck, and I kind of looked at Dane and said, "What are we going to do? We don't have anything else scheduled this week." And he goes, "Well, let's go pick up some pallets." And I go, "What's the pallet? What are you talking about?" Those wooden things that people move around warehouses. And I'm going, do what? What are we going to do with these pallets? Anyway, that's how the day it started, day one. And literally approximately about 6 blocks from there was the first place we went to. They had 2,000 pallets on their property, right? They give them to us for free. I mean, we didn't know what to say. We kind of stumbled through the whole process, but we were kind of likable folks, I guess, at that point. And they gave us 2,000 pallets. Now, what do I do with 2,000 pallets, right?
Right.
Well, back then I didn't know. Dane said we're going to take him to the pallet yard. I said, "Oh, okay, pallet yard. Never been to one in my life." Well, and we didn't know that. Back then I thought I had to lift this stuff, and I haven't lifted anything in 2 years at this point. In the last 2 years, except for moving when I got fat there for a second. But regardless, we took those 2,000 pallets to the yard. Back and forth. I just had a pickup truck back then and a little trailer, and made quite a bit of money. Just by doing something that somebody's giving away, right? And that attracted me. Like, wow, there's all this stuff here, and they're giving it to us. They don't want it. They don't have a need for it anymore. But then after a few days, the next place we went to had 1,500 pallets, right? And they were giving them to us. And we did the same thing, and about wore me out because I wasn't doing it right. I know a lot better now. But regardless, it was all this volume. And I remember that week, I remember going, where are all those pallets? We got to the pallet yard. I said, where are all those pallets that we brought here the other day? And it clicked. I went, wait a minute. They're just taking our pallets and selling them to a business that needs them, right? So I said, all right, I got to figure this out. So I set a time and I said, Dane, meet me here, tomorrow. We're going to figure out who bypass this pallet yard and try to figure out this business, and figure out who the buyers are and who all the rest of the suppliers are. He didn't show up. And I found out weeks later, I've never seen Dane again. I found out weeks later he ran off with a girl. That
happens sometimes.
About. Right. Girl.
Yeah, he was like, forget this pallet crap. I found a girl. See you, John.
After the chick, right?
Right.
And he left me just sitting there, like this wonderful thing that he kind of introduced me. He didn't introduce it the right way, but I said, he left me all alone. And it took me years, folks, to figure this out. But now I don't lift pallets. I don't have any employees. I don't sell, store pallets. They don't. I get 95% of them for free. I don't have a warehouse. I don't have any overhead. This is about who are the businesses that generate this stuff in large volumes. A good analogy would be I'm an Uber driver for pallets, right? I have 150 passengers in my back seat, and they're each paying me $5 a piece, and I'm taking them from point A to point B. But luckily, point A to point B is 3 blocks. 3 or 4 or 5 blocks. And so go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you, John. I was going to say, if you guys don't understand what John's saying, he's not trading time for money. He's trading merchandise for money. He's basically saying, hey, I have XYZ number of pallets. You want to buy XYZ number of pallets? And he's basically the broker or the middleman, and he finds a supplier and he finds a buyer and he brings the two together. And then he basically takes a fee for bringing the two together. So he's finding these pallets, selling them for, getting them for free. So he's got no money tied up in it. So think about it. If you're an eBay seller, okay, and someone had a yard sale left over and they had a whole bunch of merchandise they put out of the streetcar for free. They said, come by and pick it up. So then you come by and pick it up. You go home, you list it on your eBay store, and then ship it out and sell it. That's similar to what John does with his business model. He gets merchandise for free, and instead of selling it on eBay, he basically brings a supplier and a buyer together, and then he makes money. It's a simple concept. Go ahead, John. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just trying to use it as an analogy. Go ahead.
Right. For your audience, that's a perfect way of talking about it. The thing about it is those pallets, the way these businesses are, the supply. Let's talk about a supplier for a second. Day after day, truckload after truckload after truckload coming in to that business that's going to be my supplier. They take that inventory off the pallet and they're shelving it. They're selling it to the public, put it on a hand truck, UPS, whatever. And all these pallets are stacking up day after day after day. So, and week after week after week, it's a byproduct. They don't need it anymore. They're not shipping out by pallet at that point. They're just getting their inventory in, and it's a byproduct. It's an eyesore. It's a pain in the butt for that supplier. And there's a lot of times a lot of variety of pallets. Now, I don't want to get too weird on you, but there's scavengers out there that do pallets, but they're only going after one style. It's called a 4840 standard pallet, kind of you see behind a grocery store, right? Well, pallet yards, that's all they deal with as well. But there's tons of these businesses out there that have a lot of different sizes and styles of pallets at one place. And I'm the one guy that knows how to move all those different styles, not just one, 48 by 48s and 12 foot and 6 foot and wrong ways and all this terminology, you would learn if you took the training and all. But I'm the one guy can move all that in a consistent basis, right? So that load I took that day, right? I come by a couple of days later, there's stacks and stacks of them again. They keep regenerating on the supply side. And on the buyer side, they're having to ship their stuff out day after day after day and truckload after truckload after truckload. So those pallets are gone, right? And they run out and they order again. So it's a never ending wonderful cycle of the pallet game, because there's 2 billion pallets out there, folks. It's going to be 2.5 billion of them next year. So
yeah. So John, I think I heard a stat that there was like a large percentage of the trees that get that they chop down, they use that wood to make pallets with. What percentage is that?
50%.
I was going to say 40. Go ahead, but I'm not an expert on pallets. Go ahead.
Well, there's two. There's a 45% of it's used to make new pallets. And there's actually, if you look it up in the two different sources, one say there's another 15%, like 60%, that are used to repair pallets. So That's like 60%, 50 to 60%, depending which source you look at, of all the trees in the United States and all the lumber that's produced is used for pallets, not roofs and houses and buildings. It's for pallets, and it's only getting bigger because you think about eBay, you think about the internet itself, and how everything is just is the ease of ordering things online. And it's not just, I'm not just talking Amazon and eBay and all that. Everything is being moved now, right? And lightning speed in the amount of raw materials it takes to make these products and the products themselves. It's just a mass amount of stuff being moved in the United States. And that pallet touches 85% of all commerce, right? So it's the one touch point of everything, of all commerce, just about. So it's just a massive niche, but nobody sees it because it's not sexy.
Yeah, well, what John is saying, guys, is there's no shortage of pallets. I looked the other day on Craigslist and just typed in the free section on Craigslist, and I saw 3 or 4 posts where I'm at here in Tampa of companies that's just giving pallets away for free. But right. I have a little Prius. I don't have a truck. I don't have a trailer. I have no way of moving it. And even if I was going to move it, I don't have a buyer to buy it. And right. So with your business, the way I actually talked to my brother about your business a month or so ago, with your business model, you have 0 employees, you have 0 overhead, just whatever you pay for gas to put in your pickup truck, and when your like bed truck that you have, your trailer. And
I have 3 straps. I have 3 straps. That's I got them 6 years ago for $15 a piece. So that's part of my overhead.
Yeah, and I saw one of your videos, and you would just give a forklift driver like $10 to buy his lunch, and then he would come by and load these pallets up on the back of your truck. So what the hardest difficulty about all this, if someone wanted to get started in the pallet game, to me, because I'm on the outsider looking in, I'm not a pallet expert. John's been doing this for 20 years. So my biggest issue is not so much finding the pallets, it's so much brokering the deals and being the go-between, being the middleman and saying, hey, I've got merchandise. Are you interested in buying pallets? So you got to find the buyer and you got a supplier. And your job is to meet the two, to marry the two between each other, right? So
well, that and get in position where you can actually consult both ends of the equation. There's a lot of other things that come into play, you know.
And John, if you watch John's videos, he has a contract where he's like a sole supplier of these certain businesses.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, go ahead. I'll let you explain. Go ahead.
So on the buyer side, there's issues that they have, and I did, create a training course that teaches people this. It sounds like it's I just pick up pallets and deliver it, and a lot of stuff you saw on the YouTube channel is the end result. After you have the account set up, I mean, literally at that point, a 12-year-old could do it because we're just picking up pallets. They're loading them on my truck. I'm strapping them down, and I'm driving 3 blocks to the buyer, and they're unloading. I'm writing an invoice. That's the end result of reoccurring. That happens week after week, week after week, right? Of reoccurring revenue, plus other things that we'll get to in a minute besides the pallets. But the buyer side, they have a lot of issues. There's situations where there's square footage issues, there's space issues, there's safety issues, there's flow issues that we want to be the guy that consults them in a way to improve their business, the whole internal part of their business as well. And that's what my training's about, of course, and how to set that deal up, because not all suppliers are created equal. Not all buyers are created equal. We have buyers doing things wrong that we can consult them with on what they actually need and the questions we need to ask and the answers we need to have. Suppliers on one end, there's certain situations that I got, like in the training, I walk you through a lot of different scenarios. So, when you see it, how to handle it, because we do some things for some suppliers that we don't do for other suppliers. Right. And there's a way to construct the deal in a proper way on both sides of the equation, because we got to make a win-win-win. We got to win for me, right? Not to be selfish, but what you were in business, right? Win for me, win for the supplier, and win for the buyer simultaneously. And there's a balancing act that comes into play right in the beginning as well. So those are some of the things to expect. We got to get some exclusivity for that supply, right? We got to be the guy who knows how to move. I come to a business and there's 1,000 pallets there, and there's 7 different styles of pallets. Well, I need to be the guy who knows how to move all all different, several different styles and all 1,000 of them on a consistent basis, where I can get exclusivity, and that's my ATM on a weekly basis.
Okay, John, I don't mean to interrupt you. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
We're live. I want to talk to the guys in the chat real quick.
Sure.
So I want to say hi to Wendy for coming by today. We got Russell is here. We got BK from the Rockies. He says, like, share, subscribe. He says, what's good? And we got Bearded Veteran. He says, so to recap, you find free pallets at a location. You show up to the place, say you want them, call a company needing pallets, and sell them without lifting a finger. Genius. Russell says that's really awesome. And BK from the Rockies says, Bud, his business doesn't really require expensive, toll commercial insurance. On the low end, it's a win in my opinion. So I just wanted to say I appreciate everybody in the chat for hanging out with me today. And I appreciate John for taking time out of his day to elaborate on this pallet business. So basically what John says in his videos is he has no overhead. He has no employees. It's just him and a truck, and he has 3 straps that he straps these pallets down with. And basically, his job is he picks up these pallets at the supplier location, and sometimes he'll drive 10 or 15 minutes down the road, and boom, drops them off to the buyer, right? And then you invoice them to get paid. Is that correct? Are we caught up with everything so far?
That is correct. That is, yeah. Well, we're caught up on the end result. What I do on a daily basis after the deals are set up, and where and where the buyers are and who the suppliers are, and how to construct the deal. Once that's done, yes, the actual day-to-day business, you described it to a T.
Okay, and so I was told that you can realistically make $1,000 to $1,200 a day within by noon, 1 o'clock, by lunchtime.
Earlier than
just running around delivering pallets, correct?
Well, today I just did 250 pallets, right?
Okay.
So, I pulled in 1,480 is about what I pulled in. And I started early. So it only took me about 2.5. Well, I played ping pong. Again. I do this every week with one of my suppliers is loading the pallets on. Me and the owner get in there and we play ping pong a little while my truck's being loaded. So that took a little extra time because he can't beat me. But regardless, today was about 2.5 hours, and it was around 1,480. I think it's about what I ended up with, minus some gas is all. So I was done way before lunch.
Right, so you made over $1,400 in one day just basically moving. You're basically a taxi for the pallets. You're taking the pallets from one location to another, right?
That is correct. And I'm not stockpiling them. I'm not storing them, so I don't need any warehouse. My supplier is my warehouse, right?
Right.
But we got to be on a consistent basis. There's like on Fridays, I have a friend of mine do it for me. Right. He could actually do it every day of the week. Right. But I like getting out there and doing it still. It's fun. I've developed relationships. But I don't have to store it. We just need to be the reliable, consistent, and be the guy who knows how to move all the different types of stuff, because we're leaving something out here. And I want to make sure people understood. If I have 4 customers ordering pallets from me, right? 100 pallets a week, right? But they also need corrugated boxes. Well, I know where corrugated boxes are by the 100. So guess what? Those corrugated boxes goes on top of all those pallets I sell them, right? The next guy needs pallets, but he also needs 55-gallon drums. And the next guy needs wire spools and pallets. And the next guy needs crates and pallets, right? So they run out of those just like they run out of the other stuff. So now instead of having just 4 customers, it's like we have 8 customers. Because that's 8 revenue streams reoccurring on a weekly basis just off a 4 customer base. Does that make sense?
I got you, John.
We're selling 2 items each.
Right. So John, what separates your business from the other competitors that you say are just out here to get beer money? That's what you call them. So what separates your business? So let's say I'm a guy and I'm just the guy that's flipping pallets, but I'm just here doing it for beer money. I'm not like a real serious competitor. I think you said some of your competitors are equivalent to like a 5th grader or something, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead and explain, John.
A lot of them, for whatever, I guess it's in the normal population doesn't see this. I was blessed to be able to see it back, or be introduced to it back when I did. And I kept it under my hat for years and years. But there's guys out there, and the problem, going back to, let's say that those scavengers, I call them, a lot of them haven't bathed in 3 days. They just don't have a lot of business sense, right? They're scrappers, I guess is one of the best way to put it. Now, they make a little money, but they go to a supplier. Their problem with theirs is they're going to a supplier, and the supplier has 4 or 5 different styles of pallets, and they're all stacked up, and sometimes they're mixed together, right? Well, they have to knock stuff over to get that one pallet style that they are going to sell to a pallet yard, because the pallet yard only really takes one style as that standard pallet. Well, are they getting some pallets out of there for that supplier? Yeah, but are they making a mess? Absolutely. So they're always on a constant hunt for a new place, because they burn bridges, because they keep places in a mess, and they don't know how to move all the other different types of stuff. Well, I come along and I know how to move even mixed loads. Like, I don't sort them, I don't measure them, nothing. They're just putting them on my truck, and I know buyers that need that type, right? So I've differentiated myself in that manner from them, because I'm getting a lot of different stuff off the property. And then I'm also getting their corrugated boxes off of there. Maybe they're 55-gallon drums or dunnage. So I'm a kind of a one-stop shop for that supplier, and I get exclusivity for it, where the other guy can't. And he's on a constant hunt for a new source for those pallets, because he's not able, he doesn't understand the business in a way. He's just selling to a pallet yard for, 1/3 the money that he should be getting if he could actually have clients that bought it.
Okay, so John, I got a few questions for you. So,
sure.
If someone wanted to get started in the pallet business, I've seen other people comment on other videos saying, well, in my city, they only pay $2 to $3 a pallet. How do you go about getting a higher rate for your pallets instead of selling them for $2 a piece? How do you sell them for $6 or $7 a piece? Explain how that works.
Well, you need to know the types of businesses that need what, who needs what, for one. So the 2 to 3 pallets, most people who say 2 to 3 pallets are actually selling to a pallet yard that are only paying $2 to $3. Well, guess what they're selling it for? $6, $7, $8, right, per unit. But that being the case, let's say you were talking about a normal, some kind of pallet at $2 to $3. Well, there's 10-foot pallets, 12-foot pallets, 6-foot pallets. There's 48 by 48s. There's hardwood. There's heat treated pallets. There's pallets that are specific for strapping stuff down that have wings on them, So there's a lot of different variety that certain businesses need. And I guide, I have training that teaches you what goes where and who needs what and why, right? Really breaking it down to the aspect of where these styles of pallets are that you need and who needs those styles of pallets that bring in that kind of money on a regular basis. There's a lot of heavy duty industry by the thousands out there that need certain types of pallets, and even mixed loads of pallets. That's where really good money and ease of lifestyle comes in. When you're moving a lot of variety, where you're not measuring them, you're not storing them, and you're taking them as is, mixed stacks of pallets, and taking them straight to a buyer, the type of buyer that needs that. And solving their problems simultaneously. So it's a matter, the simple answer is you got to know the types of businesses to work with to get that kind of money. And the only reason I know it is because I've been doing it for 23 years now. It's been
I was going to say, it sounds like the whole thing boils down to having relationships with people. You introduce yourself, you build up a relationship with the supplier, and then you're building up a relationship with the buyer, right? That's kind of what the whole thing boils down to. Go ahead.
Well, if you don't know your stuff, then it is that, but it's also a combination of knowing your stuff on top of it. If you go in there like a rookie and don't know what a wing 4840 wrong way is, right? Or you don't know what a block flush is, or the terminology, and notice things that they're doing wrong, where they're throwing money out the window, where you can't consult them. Well, you're just another pallet guy, right? But if you're able to consult them and know your stuff on top of it, that's how the deal is solidified. We become consultants in this as far as making a better flow for their business. And it's not just like, hey, I got pallets, you need pallets, and then develop a relationship. It's actually advising, asking a lot of questions, right? And digging really deep on what their situation is, and then having those solutions to back it up behind it. That's how you solidify the deal for the long term, because they've been underserved in this niche forever. And it's one last little point. Yeah, it's just a pallet, but guess what? If they run out, or if they're getting served they don't have the right thing, that all those 6 trucks that are coming in today to pick up their stuff and they've run out, they're at a complete standstill. It creates this complete cluster if they get screwed up. It doesn't seem that important, but this is an integral part of the business. And if it's screwed up, if you get, bottom line is, you are right. Relationships are very important, but you got to know your stuff on top of it.
Okay, John, just give me a second. I want to catch the people in the chat. We got Heidi Flip is here, and then I said Russell is here. BK from the Rockies is here. We got Fundamentals of Side Hustling here with us. Ken is here, and then Melina Campbell says, which one sells for the which one sells the most and what size? So as far as the pallets go, what size? And I have a question for you, John. How do you go about building relationships with these people when you're buying and selling pallets so it's reoccurring revenue, where you say, okay, today's Friday at 9 o'clock, I have to be here at XYZ location, pick up here and deliver there? Like, because you don't have like a computer printout every week or anything that tells you where to pick up and where to deliver it. Like, how do you go about establishing relationships so it's reoccurring revenue that comes in week after week after week? Go ahead.
Well, you have main suppliers and you have customers around there. So it's kind of like a spoke on the wheel. If I have a main supplier, what I mean by a main supplier, he's generating 70, 80, 120, 150 pallets a day, right? Well, that main hub of that supplier can service a couple, 2 or 3 buyers in that proximity, and it gets in a cycle. Meaning if I have a main supplier, I want to be coming there 2-3 times a week, right? And servicing those people in that same zone. That way I'm just going from boom to 3 box down to here to a buyer, back to there, back over here. I'm off camera here. Just going back and forth in a little spoke on the wheel and servicing them. You get in a every Tuesday I do the same thing. Every Wednesday, Monday, I'm doing the same thing I did last Monday. I'm servicing those same clients, those same suppliers, and those same buyers, right? So consistency, and it gets in a cycle. They run out of pallets every week. I have a few that are on a 2-week cycle, but most of them are on a weekly basis.
Wait a second. So you know what this is? Something just clicked for me. This almost sounds like when you're contracted to cut someone's grass and they have to get their grass cut like every week, every 2 weeks. And once you have a contract to go cut someone's grass, their grass grows. They need to have their grass cut the same time every 2 weeks, because if they don't, their grass gets too tall and the city will show up and start fining them if their grass gets too tall. So you're basically is creating contracts with people, just same way that a landscaping business would knock on someone's door and say, hey, I have a lawnmower, I have a weed eater, do you need me to cut your grass? You're doing something similar to that, because the relationships you're building up with people that need their grass cut is similar to that. You basically go and say, hey, here's my business card. If you need pallets, let me know. Let me know what kind of pallets you need. Let me know if they need to be here every week or every 2 weeks. And then you go from there. Is it similar to that? Am I on to something?
It is, especially on the supply side. Just like grass grows, those stacks of pallets grow. And the managers and the warehouse managers, they see it and they go, oh God, I don't, they just would rather punch themselves in the face than actually deal with the pallets. They want it off their plate. That's on the supply side. On the buyer side, it's the opposite. Everything's going down to where the point where we never want to let them just run out and then they order. With this, you have flexibility, meaning, if they have 100 pallets, when they get down to 30, 25, 30, that's when they're calling me, or that's when the cycle, we have overlap. I can dictate when I work, even to the point of, hey, I'm already over here. Can I bring a load by? I'm already in this area. You mind if I drop a load off? I'm a couple days early. Oh, no problem. We're going to go through them anyway. So it gives me, out of all the things I've been saying here, this all translates into time freedom. We're moving a bunch of pallets in a short period of time, making bank in the morning. That's when I do it. You can do it in the afternoon, you can do it whenever. It doesn't matter. There's 7-day operations out there as well. But I just do it and make my bank, and then I have freedom to do what I want to do. This is what it comes down to, because I'm
Yeah,
getting paid per unit and I don't have any overhead.
Yeah, that's if you guys are just coming in, we got John here from the Simplest Biz. He's a pallet expert. He's been doing this for 20 plus years, 23 years. And he was basically saying that he could come in here, pick up pallets, deliver them, and within 4 or 5 hours worth of work, he made over, what was it, over $1,400 today, you said?
$1,480.
So yeah, so he said he made $1,480 today delivering pallets. He goes to one location, picks them up, goes to another location, boom, drops them and delivers them, and boom, he made $1,480 in one day. And you weren't working 8 or 10 or 12-hour days.
No,
you
I was
did that
by
by
9:30
lunchtime, right?
No, by 9:30 a.m. I started around 6:45 this morning. I was done by 9:30.
So you could do it within 4 hours a day, and then, like you said, you'd be able to easily have the rest of the day. As there are 24 hours in a day, you work 4 hours.
Do whatever
you have 20 hours free to do whatever you want to go do, right?
Right, and it's given me a lot of time freedom to do a lot of other things that I really wanted to do anyway. You know, like write music. I do some of my art work in the back behind you. You know, I do art shows and stuff like that as well. It gives me time to do those fun things. They also generate money, you know, revenues as well. The music generates money. You know, helping students, that I have that as part of my day as well. I get the honor of showing other people this business, and you know, we have a big private Facebook group on top of the training, and there's a lot of activity always going on in there. And so I'm always helping folks out in the private group as well. But
yeah, go ahead, John.
I was trying to remember something else I was going to say, but I got
so John doesn't know. I did my homework on John. Not only does he have a YouTube channel, not only does he have a course and he has students, but you also have some websites that you run as well. Is that correct?
That's right. I you know, back in 2014, you know, I would get done with the pallets around, like I said, 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9:30 a.m. in the morning, and I would go play golf, right? And I was playing golf 2 or 3, 4 times a week. And my wife said, "Do you really got to play golf that many times a week?" You know, I said, "Well, I'm making the money." But at the same time, I got her point. So I got interested in the internet a little bit and really did a deep dive on other ways of creating revenue besides just the pallets. And I, you know, you do stuff on the web as well. There's a lot to know. And it took me 6 months of stopping at 9:30 with my pallets and switching over, and I'd work till 9:30 at night trying to figure out everything about websites and search engine optimization and all that, right? My wife didn't see me practically at all for 6 months, and it about broke my brain trying to figure it all out. And that's about what it takes, you know, to do an internet-based business in a way when it comes down to it. But it did create passive income for me. I own 22 websites that generate on a local level a lot of additional revenue. But if it wasn't for the pallet business, I would have never had time to do it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I'm a subscriber of John. This is a guest that you guys, the viewers, subscribers, had requested to have on. So I reached out to John to have him on. I want to catch the guys in the chat. We got Jennifer Hayes here. We got Bearded Veteran says smash the like button. We got BK from the Rockies. He says, quick question: is it worth it to sell pallets out of state? For example, if you pick up in North Carolina and deliver to South Carolina, is it worth it to travel over state lines or no?
If you're going that way anyway, yeah, but it's fine. But you know, if like you have a deadhead run on a truck, you could do it that way. But there's so many in close proximity anyway. And there's another that brings to mind. There's passive income in this as well. So let me give you an example, just so you guys understand, because you know, people who do stuff on the web like passive income. Well, I'm a broker for pallets on top of it. You know, instead of just doing point A to point B. There's one example. It's not my best one, but it's a good one. Every Friday and every Monday, 550 pallets are delivered on Friday and 550 pallets are delivered on Monday. So it's 1,100 pallets a week, and they're going to a plant down by Montgomery. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, so it's like 80 miles south of here, right? Well, I set that deal up, and I set it up years ago, and I don't want to drive there, right? And I don't want to stockpile 1,100 pallets every week. Well, that way I'd probably have to have a warehouse. So I brokered the deal, right? Now I only make 75 cents per unit. Okay. So it's $825 a week, but I don't leave the house. And those are on refurbished pallets, right? So that's a passive aspect of this business. But then there's custom built pallets that come into play where I don't build them, I don't deliver them, and all, but I set the deal up as well. But the markups there are $2, $4, $5. So, there's one every 3 weeks that goes to one of my customers that actually supplies me pallets, but they need custom built. And I get $4 a piece on a 400 pallet delivery. So it's $1,600 every few weeks on that one. And I have several other ones, but that's part of the business model as well. That I teach it as well in the training. But that's a part of this business that where you can make money, and you're not even. I can only have to restrict myself to Birmingham. I can do it all over the state if because it's you're a middleman broker instead of the actual point A to point B deliverer.
Yep. I told you guys, John's a hustler. I've been watching him for a while. He didn't know that, but I'm a subscriber of his channel. So John, tell me a little bit about if somebody is brand new, they're excited, they want to learn about it, starting this pallet game business. Give us 3 or 4 tips that we would need to know if you wanted to get started. And before we even talk about your course, if I'm brand new and I'm like, hey, I'm ready to get started flipping pallets, what are things that we need to know? Give me 3 or 4 things of advice that I need to know from day one starting out. Do I just start knocking on doors and hand them a business card and say, hey, I flip pallets? Go ahead.
Okay. I wouldn't advise that because, you don't want to burn a bridge. I've had people do that, and they go out, they knock on the door and they say something wrong and they screw it up. And it's, it could have been a $30,000, $40,000 deal for them per year, right? Because they don't know the verbiage. They don't know the stuff. But what you can do is do your research in your area. I'll give you a little tactic. I dive deeper into it in the training and show you some really cool stuff with apps involved and all that. But get on Google Maps, right? Get on Google Maps. Go to your industrial areas. I can't tell you exactly where, what businesses and all that. That's proprietary to the training. But go into the industrial areas, and I want you to start zooming in behind the buildings. Or if you just want, you can drive around and start taking notes of what you see. Because most people don't even notice this stuff, right? And it's out there by the tens and by the billions, literally. And I will guide you and all that to the types of business you need to, but I want you to go out there and get a feel for what I'm talking about, because you probably up to this point have never noticed it. So go out to your industrial areas, take a look, and see what you see. And you're going to start seeing it everywhere now that maybe that you just heard about this. And it's going to actually you get a bug, you get infected by it. You get palletized in a way, and you'll start seeing them on trucks going by you and to the left and over there. And it's just crazy. And from now on, that's what's going to happen. But you want to see if your area is viable, which wherever there's commerce, it's viable, right? You may not know where to look, but go in the general distribution and industrial areas of your town and take a peek and go from there.
Okay, so I looked around. I went on Google Maps. I'm looking at some pallets. Let's say I went on Craigslist and I found 2 or 3 people in my area that's giving pallets away for free. Should I email them? Should I go by and take a look at them? Like, should I say, hey, what size pallets do you have? What should you do in that situation? You're just kind of knocking on doors. You're getting your feet wet. Go ahead.
Yeah, you could introduce yourself, but don't paint yourself in a corner right off the bat, because you're starting day one. You don't know where they're going and all that. So you got to juggle a little bit in the beginning, right? So don't put yourself in a position where they think you're coming this Thursday to pick them up and you don't, and then you go back after you learn how to actually do it the right way and you've burned a bridge. So just be careful. Because you're doing you're marrying up suppliers and buyers once you learn what's where and what goes where. Having a roadmap's a lot better than not having a roadmap, in my opinion. Now, back in the day, I went out and I was hitting 30, 40 businesses a day. And I screwed up so many deals because I didn't, I had to try, and you guys can go try if you want. But I'm telling you, I left a lot of money on the table because Dane left me without knowing anything, right? Back in 1998 when he introduced this to me. And I hate seeing people go through that process without knowing their stuff. But that being said, if you find some 4840s here and there and you want to sell them to the pallet yard until you know exactly how to serve the right businesses the right way, absolutely put some money in your pocket.
Okay, so I was told that it is practical that if you don't have a truck, you could rent a truck. Does that happen? Could people like go rent like a thrifty U-Haul truck or something, or how would that go? How would that work? Go ahead.
I highly recommend that. In fact, I like for people who don't have a truck, and here's a little piece of advice. You know, you would stack up several orders on one day of the week to start with, right? I do all my deliveries on Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon or on Tuesdays, right? And let's say you had 2 orders of 150 pallets. So that's 300 total. You rent the truck, you pick up, the 150 and deliver and pick up the other 150 and deliver. So that's 300 pallets total times, got them for free, sell them for $5 a piece. So you're going to gross $1,500 and you're going to pay out 120 for the rental. So you net 1,380, right? Minus gas and maybe some tips, right? Well, put some of that money aside, right? And then next week comes along, and if you know where to go and had training and all, you know where else to go. And by next week, not only you're doing those 300 again, you're doing more, right? So say you're doing 400 at that point, and you're doing everything on one day to maximize that rental, and then put that money aside. And then all you need is about, $2,500, $2,600, $3,000, $3,600 to get a little 12-foot or 16-foot flatbed older. We don't want to be flashy. We don't want them to know how much money we're making. So, let the business pay for it. It's the way I say. And don't rent a truck every day. Just maximize the rental on one day of the week in the beginning. Okay,
so John, tell everybody, how much did you spend for your truck? Because I know you don't really believe in people going into debt, right?
No, I'm once here's the downside of this business. You start getting stuff for free, and you want everything paid. My wife thinks I'm a little cheap because you get stuff free week after week after week, and then people, you look at something and it costs money, and you go, I want a better deal, because you get used to it. But I paid $3,600 for my truck, and now it's right at 7 years old now, and it's made me, literally millions of dollars. And it's a champ. It runs like a champ. It's nothing flashy. It's actually used to be an old U-Haul truck. They took the box off of it, and now it's just a flatbed. So the pallet jacks, the pallet, can get from it from any direction. It's open, right? And I think last week I put, for the whole week, 30 miles on it. Because we're not going far between point A to point B.
Right. Okay. So explain, if people are coming in a little bit late, explain your whole business model. With John's business model, he gets pallets for free. So he has no money tied up in the merchandise. He has no overhead and he has no employees. And basically he goes from point A to point B. He picks up pallets and then he delivers them. That's basically what he does. And he's the middleman. And like I said, he can make $1,400 in a day by lunchtime within about 4 or 5 hours. So if this is something you guys are interested in, I'm definitely going to drop his link down below. And so before we let you go, tell people, if someone's interested and they want to buy your course, what are we getting if I buy your course? Tell me. So if I'm interested, I want to know more about the pallet game. I'm curious about what your course entails, because I have people that email me, John. They have subscribers. Sure. They say, hey, what do you think about John's course? Is this legit? Is he a legit guy? And I'm like, I haven't met John. He seems like a nice guy to me, but I'm not a pallet expert, but I know somebody who is. Go ahead.
Got you. Yeah, the course, I put a lot of effort in. We're on the 2.0 version of the course, right? And this last version of the course, I initially went out for 4 months, and I recorded every aspect that I thought I could think of in this business, right? Down to even talking to individuals and working deals out on camera clandestinely. So it's out in the field. You see what I see, say what I say, go where I tell you to go. And it's step by step. So it's micro learning. There's 13 modules now to the training now. I went back out again and recorded a lot of additional, a lot of different additional scenarios, because I noticed some things I took for granted that came up in the group in the first initial training, right? And then some questions were popping up over and over again. I went, you do this for so long, you have blind spots. So that's why I went out again and created the 2.0 version of the course. And it's 13 modules, step by step. So 13 sections through the course, everything from day one And day 2, day 3, day 4, all the way up to the backside of your business and concerning QuickBooks and taxes, and even brought my accountant in to show you the whole backside of the business, right? So it takes you about 4.5 days to get through it. So there's that 13 modules. There's a VIP section. All that means is you're fully paid. And that has the brokering section. So all the taxes for the passive incomes in the brokering section. Then there's a file cabinet. So it has suppliers lists and buyers lists. It has punch lists of questions that you want to ask buyers, punch lists of questions you want to ask suppliers, right? Because I don't expect you to memorize everything in my training. There's promotional materials in there. There's spreadsheets keeping track of what's where. There's scripts if you're doing this over the phone. Just tons of stuff in just the file cabinet alone. All right. So that's half the equation. Then the real action really starts because I put you into the Facebook group. It's a private group with all my students all over the planet doing this. And it is the most incredible group I've ever been associated with. And I'm not just saying that because it's my course. There is so much activity, wisdom, knowledge being shared in that group by my students out there in the field, sharing exact deals being put together. They're showing where they're getting their stuff that's not even on my suppliers and buyers list, right? You know, there's other things that are coming into play, slight twist on different ways I go about things that they're sharing in that group. So that database of information is massive in the Facebook group alone. It's ever growing. So you're never alone after you've taken this training. You have incredible support after the fact.
So John, if I'm one of your students and I need to contact you via email or call you or whatever, I've seen videos where you're actually out in the field working and one of your students have called you to ask you a question. So you're there, you're available, and you help people walk them step by step. And if they run into a brick wall or they're having issues, then they can contact you directly and say, hey, this is the problem I'm having. What do I do? Right?
That's exactly right. Now, if you're going to call me up and ask me, what's the difference between a pine pallet and a hardwood pallet, I'm going to knock you over the head, because that information's in you could ask that in the group. And I'll answer that question, not a problem. But, common questions go to the Facebook group, right? Because I want to be efficient as well. I have a lot of responsibility, a lot of students to deal with. But I want to be responsible. So when I answer you that common question, I'm answering it for everybody else as well. But now, let's say you're in a deal and you're trying to figure out, you got particulars, hey, this is the situation, or I'm having trouble with something. Yeah, that's when you text me, hey, you got a minute to talk? Got some time to talk? And I pick the phone up and I call you and we go in depth over what's going on. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I got somebody in the chat. They says, I deliver a place I deliver to throws a bunch of pallets outside of the back. I'm wondering how I can set them up in a way and grab them and flip them. So talk a little bit about that. If someone just sees some pallets on the side of the road, they could grab them and take them to the pallet yard and resell them, or what?
Yes, just realize that's not the pallet yard's only going to buy one size, right? So maybe there's a bunch of different sizes in there and you only can pick out those that sell at the pallet yard. But some's better than nothing, right? This is what I want to teach you guys if you ever choose to do this, because this is where it's sweet. This is important. When you can go up to a supplier, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, and you have 20 stacks and everything's mixed together, right? Some medium and some larger, but they're all kind of like, the stacks are kind of like this, all within like 10 inches of each other. Knowing how to just have those picked up and sit on your truck, stack after stack after stack, and take them directly to the buyer without measuring them, where the buyer's not even measuring them, where the type of buyer that needs the type of stuff that you've got and needs that kind of variety. So you're making it a win. You're win for you because you've become super efficient, not have to do any extra work. You didn't even have to measure them. You get out of the truck and you put super heavy duty medium pallets on your invoice, 150 times $6 a piece. That's what I want to teach you.
Okay, John, I have a question. I saw some comments on some of your other YouTube videos, and people commented and said, what if some of these pallets are broken or damaged? What do you do with them? Do you go ahead and still deliver them anyways? Do you have like a pallet med kit where you go in and fix them with a hammer and nails? What do you do? Go ahead.
No, there's a whole other revenue source or a deal sweetening aspect to the business that you'll learn in the training. I hate to be cryptic, but no, I'm not repairing pallets. I'm not delivering broken pallets to my buyers, but there's actually money in the broken stuff as well. So you'll learn about that as well. And there's a way to set the deal up.
If you go to deliver the pallets and the customer says, hey, these are broken, I don't want them, do you just take them back with you, or you just throw them off to the side, or what do you do with them?
No, I wouldn't deliver the broken ones. The broken ones, I mean, I have to be a little cryptic because there's ways of setting the deal up, guys, in for a supplier where you're not having to deal with the broken stuff, and you know, where you're not delivering broken pallets to a buyer. That's ridiculous. No, we're not doing that. It's not a dumb question. Don't get me wrong, but there's a way of setting a deal up depending on what the situation is. And I got to walk you through, you know, several different scenarios on something about this aspect of the business, so you know how to handle it exactly the correct way and with the least amount of effort.
All right, cool. Well, guys, I've had John on the show for about nearly an hour, so I appreciate John taking his time to hang out with me. I'm going to thank you, everybody in the chat. John, give me your final thoughts. If someone wanted to talk to you, I'm going to link your YouTube channel down below. If someone's interested in maybe buying the course or interested in getting in the pallet game, give us your final thoughts on what they should do next, their next step.
I think the easiest way, since we don't have a link and all, you know, a big link that to hand out to them, just the simplest biz at gmail.com and mention Ebayaddicts in your email, so I know I have a reference point, and reach out to me with your information. And you know, if you have some questions, we can either go through email, or we can get on the phone, or have one of my students talk to you, something like that. But the simplest biz at gmail.com to start off with, and I want, you know, make sure you have some information to go over before you just buy the course. I don't want people just buying the thing because
where can they look you up on Instagram if they want to send you an email on Instagram? Tell them where they can
look up the simplest biz.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and drop John's link in the YouTube channel down below to his YouTube channel, because I'm not a pallet expert. Like I says, I'm not an expert in everything entrepreneurs. I just know somebody who is. So you guys request guests on the show, bring them on the show, let you guys pick their brains, ask them questions, and then I'll point you in the right direction of the guy you need to talk to, and he can get you guys started and get you rolling. So that's all I got for today, guys. I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out, and I want to thank John for hanging out with me today, all right? Thank you, guys.
All right, people. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it very much.
All right, thank you.